The author that we are going to be talking about is Honoré de Balzac. He is a French novelist and playwright, although he is most known for his novels. His birth name is Honoré Balzac. He was born on May 20th, 1799 in Tours, France, and he passed away August 19, 1850 in Paris, France from heart failure at age 51 due to a healthy life of excess that he led. He originally studied law, but he opted out and chose writing as a career. He married a young woman named Madame Hanska. She was Polish. They married in 1850. She was a longtime pen friend of his. She was an admirer of his, and that is how they met. More on that information later on. So he is the first pioneer to the realism movement in literature. He was one of the very first authors who ever wrote about realism ever. He helped establish the traditional form of a novel, and through his novels were that he gave himself the name and the title of the supreme observer and chronicler of the contemporary French society. Now, within his status and his fame, he influenced a few authors such as Gustave Flaubert, Marcel Proust, Henry James, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. He was also one of the first writers to make character and psychology one of the central concerns of his writing, basically. And before being known as Honoré de Balzac, he went along with other pen names like Lord Orhun, Horace de Saint-Aubin, among other pen names that he used. So some notable works that we can find from his are Le Dernier Chouan, which was published in 1829. Some of these dates are unsure since it is really difficult to find exact dates to which these works of art or these works of literature were published. So these dates will be explained when mentioning the book. So we know that this one was published in 1829. This was the first book actually he published under what would be his permanent pen name, Honoré de Balzac. Next we have his biggest and most famous novel ever, La Comédie Humaine. This piece took 20 years for him to make, and through the years of 1829 and 1847, he would be publishing the more than 90 plus novels, novellas, short stories that would be included in this compilation of stories called the Comédie Humaine. So with La Comédie Humaine, or the Human Comedy, he really wanted to focus on just French society and French life. So it was a book rather that took most of his later life to finish. And through this story, before it became a compilation, it was singular novels or short stories that he would be releasing between the years, as I mentioned, 1829 and 1847. The idea came to him to make it a compilation in the year of 1834. Now in this year, he thought that it would be a good idea to make a compilation of stories he had some of them previously had already released, make a compilation of intertwined stories about the reality of French society that he was living in. Now these stories didn't have a name yet, or the compilation didn't have a name yet, until 1840 when he got the idea of naming it Le Comédie Humaine. So along with this title, it wasn't until a couple of years later in which, after his death, it finally came to a final version in which nothing else was being added to it. So there are 91-ish finished works, and there are 46 unfinished works, which a lot of them are just titles. So essentially, La Comédie Humaine was left incomplete, and it is published incomplete, being at today 24 volumes. Next we have Lettres à l'étranger, which is in sorts an autobiography, a love story. He somehow narrates his love story with his wife, Madame Hanska. Like I mentioned earlier, Madame Hanska was an admirer of Honore, and she sent Honore a letter expressing her admiration for him, signing it L'étranger. She was Polish, so the letter she sent it from Odessa. Through this letter was that Honore and Madame Hanska started interchanging letters. They somehow started hitting it off, and in no time, Honore and Madame Hanska were having a love affair. Through letters, he had initiated an official courtship with her, courting her, wanting her hand in marriage. Ultimately, they wouldn't marry until Madame Hanska's husband died. When he did die, Madame Hanska didn't want to marry him, but ultimately did end up marrying him in 1850, the year he died, only having the luck of enjoying a couple of months married with each other. Next we have Illusion Perdue, which is a compilation of volumes. It was set between 1837 and 1843. It is a total of 3 volumes that were each released in 3 different years. So that would be what would make up of Honore de Balzac, the important pioneer of the Realism movement.